Hi, neighbors. Welcome to the senior scene.
It's a voice and face familiar to so many Torrance residents. Art Callen, host of Senior Scene, doesn't just practice what he preaches. At 87 years old, he's as active as ever.
I think by keeping busy, that's helped me reach this ripe old age.
From his humble beginnings to his days as an educator, up to his work as a TV personality, Callen gives his all by giving back.
People have helped me in my life, and I'm just paying it back.
His life began in upstate New York.
Syracuse, during my childhood, the population was a little over 100,000, and it was mainly an industrial city. It was a racially mixed neighborhood, and in those days it was great. There was no problem. My father was a meat cutter originally. I learned enough about his business that I didn't want to be in it.
Instead, he discovered an interest that would be with him his whole life.
I became very, very much interested in sports. I participated in them in school, which in turn led me to an athletic scholarship at the University of Florida, where at that time I was on the boxing team and ran track.
And it was the first time that Callen found that sports could do more than just keep him fit.
Financially, my family was not able to send me on to college, but with that athletic scholarship, it was great.
Sports were his ticket out, and that ticket put him on a train down south where his learning began.
All of a sudden, the conductor came and he pulled a curtain across the aisle, and I just couldn't understand what that was. And I asked him, and he said, well, we just passed the Mason-Dixon line. So I said, so what? He said, well, once you pass the Mason-Dixon line, we segregate the races. We went out to get some water, and I went to a drinking fountain, and it said white only. I just couldn't understand that. It was a shock to me because many of the young people that I grew up with were black. It was hard for me to fathom that this type of thing was still going on in the United States.
But like so many young men, his time in college was cut short by a long war. And like others in this greatest generation, he accepted it and learned from it.
You wanted to do something for your country, so it really didn't matter to me. It taught me discipline. It taught me a love for my fellow comrades who were putting their life on the line, and I grew up real quick.
After the war, Callen returned to the University of Florida on the GI Bill.
After 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, I was able to get a master's degree in education with a major in administration. My love of sports was still there, and by being able to stay in education, I was able to become a coach.
His first job was in a small town called Bronson.
The kids were great. The community was great. Everybody actually depended on each other. And it really taught me dependency and love for a fellow man.
So it was in Florida that Callen chose to make his home. In the meantime, his mother moved to Los Angeles, and during a visit, Callen's life would change forever.
Well, it was a blind date, and we kind of, I was with my cousin and my girlfriend. One was a redhead, and I had black hair at the time, and my cousin was a blonde. And the guys came out with two fraternity brothers, and they picked hair color. I was brought up in Hollywood, and
Very beautiful.
And Art was the boy from the little town in Bronson then.
Although they were long distance for most of their courtship, a few months later they were married. And besides hair color, they bonded over their differences.
We have very little in common, really. Bobby is a type of person that likes the arts. She's a former artist and a fashion designer, and she liked stage plays and the ballet and all of those aesthetic things, where I was interested only in sports. And I attribute the 57 years to one word, and that's compromise. I'd go to her plays and so forth, and she'd go to my ball games.
And his influence seems to be rubbing off.
Oh, I love basketball, always have.
She loves the Lakers. Never miss the Lakers on TV.
Compromising it really helps, because if you like different things and you're a different type of people, then one has to give in to the other and, let them do what they like, and we've always been that way.
We still compromise.
Callen brought his new bride back to Florida.
The city of Gainesville was a little bit too small for her, and we had a child born there. My eldest child was Candy, and we finally decided to move to California.
In 1953, they moved back to Los Angeles. With his teaching credentials in hand, Callen stumbled upon Monroe Junior High School in Englewood.
I went in there, and they hired me right on the spot.
Callen became the phys ed instructor, and he began to leave his mark.
When President Eisenhower came into office, he was strictly for good physical fitness.
So he created the aptly named Callen Obstacle Course. In it, Callen used his Army training to create the course, which put students through a battery of tests.
I received a letter of commendation from President Eisenhower.
He remained at Monroe Junior High School for 15 years. Then in 1968, he became the Dean of Students at Morningside High School.
I handled athletics and discipline.
But this was the turbulent 1960s, and nobody wanted to see Englewood experience the unrest that residents experienced in neighboring Watts.
We actually had a riot on our campus, and it was terrible. It was really and truly terrible. I had done work with both the black and white community and was able to get these kids together. We were able to get the black and white kids back together again, actually through athletics. Our teams were very, very well integrated, all of the sports that we had.
Callen was eventually promoted to assistant principal and later to principal.
Fair but firm, and those were the two things I attempted to do. It was be fair and firm to both races at that time.
Callen retired from Morningside in 1982, and after traveling the world over with Bobby, he came back to Torrance wondering what he would do next.
I'm the type of a person that has to be doing something.
Volunteering was that special something. A longtime member of the Torrance Kiwanis Club and Commission on Aging, it was clear that Callen had a lot to give, and he was soon hired to do sports for CitiCABLE Channel 3.
Hi, sports fans. Welcome to the Torrance sports scene. I'm Art Callen reporting.
That morphed into a position as host and producer of Senior Scene, and Callen realized the show filled a great need in the senior community.
The show that I do, the Senior Scene, on senior activities, brings a lot of these activities to senior citizens who are shut-ins, who I'm happy to say get a lot out of my program, because a lot of the stuff is on health and welfare and physical activity, and it's brought a lot of them out into the community rather than stay home and watch TV all day. Well, I get a great deal out of it because I get to meet a lot of people. I do it because it gives me pleasure, it keeps me busy.
So as a loving husband for over 50 years, father of 3, grandfather of 3, and great-grandfather of 1, gardener, fisherman, television host, animal advocate, and volunteer, Callen is proud of his busy life.
You go out there and you get a lot of satisfaction when you see you've helped someone.